Escape to the metaverse. But act like you know, yeah. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show, yeah. Escape to the metaverse. Better act like you know. You are now tuned into the Matthew and Rizzo show, yeah.
Hey Matt, how's it going?
Yo, Drago. What's up, dude?
Not too bad. Just having a bit of an early kind of snack leftovers from yesterday.
Nice. What you munching on?
We got Opa delivered, so some
What's Opa?
Fries right now.
What's Opa?
Opa is
Sounds Korean.
It's Greek food, actually. It's like a fast food type thing.
Amazing. I'm starving, so you just make me hungry. Thank you, Drago.
You're welcome. You'll have to go get fries now.
Yes.
Okay, go back to your box, please.
No!
Sorry. Throwbacks. Yeah, what up, dude?
So, man, how's it going?
Good. So we're recording, dude. Yeah, you want to get into it? We got an Aavegotchi whip tomorrow that we can unpack, fully focused on Aavegotchi, which I'm excited for because they always bring a million updates and we always go into what they're cooking up, so it's always fun to do that. But also Farcaster having a moment. I know you have thoughts on it. And yeah, this Nifty Island, more excitement there. So yeah, what do you want to start with first? Or something totally other than that?
We can sort of take it in that order, man. Stoked to have Aavegotchi back on the whip this week. We're cooking up. We got Thrax as their official spokesperson, official, unofficial spokesperson, or whatever. We was talking with Jesse, who's been on the whip a number of times. Actually, I think I just posted a clip that included Jesse. They're not all full ones. I'm trying to post some of these classic whip moments on the YouTube channel. So like some cool things are coming up from back in the day. But it should be dope, man. We're gonna shout out to Dragonate, man. We've got this like real nice setup right now going on where we're in a similar situation where we were last week with Nifty Island. We're going into these Aavegotchi games, Gotchi Guardians and Spirit Force Awakens. So if you're listening to this, you want to download those clients ahead of time. Because we got some fake Gotchi prizes that we're going to be putting up for grabs, and they're dope. I can tell you that right off the bat. But people are gonna need to download a client similar to Nifty Island, and it's a barrier to entry that people show up for the whip and haven't done it or weren't paying attention and just but want to be involved. And so we've got this great situation going on in our Hyperfi spot where we got this big ass Twitch screen like right above the stage, and Dragonate has been able to stream the action going on in last week it was Nifty Island. This week it'll be these Aavegotchi games, so that you show up to the whip and you haven't been in the loop like all week, and you didn't get a chance to download the thing, but you still want to see the dope stuff that's going on, because all of this is like sort of roped into their last releases and rollouts that they're going to be talking about and everything. So we got the big broadcasting stage in the whip parcel, so that when we go over to that, people can watch us killing each other or whatever's going on in these games as that's happening concurrently. So we're like I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of like spreading our metaverse tentacles like all over the place, but also making sure that nobody gets left out, at least as best as we can, which is why we've been anchoring in the Meme Explorers Discord like forever. It's like the most frictionless barrier to entry. So I don't know, man. It's another cool week to test out some of our chops in terms of being able to do some like really interesting cross metaverse Web3 stuff. And Aavegotchi's just got such great vibes, man. It's always nice to have them in the house, and they're like constantly shipping. So I'm stoked, dude.
Yeah, in great quantities too. And then just so for folks to know, if they haven't been in or haven't downloaded the client, they just go to aavegotchi.com, and is that what they do, or like where do they download the client?
Yeah, I just posted. Both of those games have their own Twitter handles, so I'm super sketchy about like clicking on random links and everything, and therefore I know that I don't know if I post random links. There's probably a lot of people like me who are not very likely to click on them, but I just kicked out a post talking about today's whip. It has both the handles of the games in them. We can include those in the liner notes here. But yeah, and you can go to Avagachi's main site and download the Gachi Guardians game and Spirit Force Awakens game. And I just did it to test it out and give them a spin, and it took like 2 seconds. It's a pretty like painless point of entry, but if you want the prizes, it's something you got to do to be able to hop in and battle us this week. Aside from the Fabiano and Patrizia, gifts that they're giving out on a weekly basis. Speaking of people who ship, so that will be there for everybody. But to do the Avagachi specific stuff, you got to jump through a couple hoops.
So there we go. Go follow Gachi Guardians and then Spirit Force GG. We'll link in the show notes so you can go download everything painlessly. I'm literally downloading right now as we chat. You go to the homepage and it's like a pretty conspicuous download now button. Then you choose Windows, Apple, boom. Very, very simple. Download super swift too, to your point. Stoked for that. Awesome, man. And then, dude, let's get into Farcast. I want to hear your takes. I've seen some of your cast and tweets, and yeah. First takes.
It feels overly complicated, man, and I feel like there's certainly like a good crowd in there. Like I see, I immediately found, and a lot of familiar faces found me. So it's, I like being where the people who I like to hang out with are hanging out or whatever. I don't know, man. It's hard for me to not feel like this is just another thing that's, going to have its hype cycle and, it may be awesome, but I think a lot of things are awesome and still don't survive like the initial, sort of surge of attention and everything. And I don't know, man, first impressions, I'm like, speaking of like barriers to entry and everything, I'm like, there's a learning curve associated with figuring out what the hell's going on this. And that's not always a bad thing, because I feel like that, having some barrier to entry rather than like, well, I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's starting to get filled up with junk or whatever, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it, man. I genuinely feel like I haven't spent enough time with it to like really give it a fair shake. There's things I like about it, that I can sort of preview my post. I don't have Twitter Blue or anything, so I don't get like the fancy previews that I believe people still get if they have the premium account. So there are definitely some things and features that I've noticed about it that I'm like, well, these are great things that I wish were incorporated elsewhere. But I don't know, man. There's like, you open the thing up and there's like a whole bunch of shit going on. There's like people throwing around shit coins and telling you to mint this, and then you got to like do some things with warps and like, I don't know, all of this. And then, there's like a frame thing going on too. And, all this may play very nicely and seamlessly with each other, but taking like 4 or 5 looks at it for a few minutes at a time, I'm like, this requires me to like sit down and figure out how this works.
Yeah, I do have to say, I think first of all, like just the Whip Meetup channel is sexy. We have like anime or GIF PFPs or PFP GIFs that we can load up there, and seeing the Trippy Yogi designed animated rainbow whip logo, it just looks so good. And that's probably my favorite part of Farcaster. And then getting folks to follow it and just having the Whip fam kind of contained there is it's a really convenient way to kind of see folks talking about us in real time. That's not dependent on like a whole separate account. It like everyone's part of the channel, which makes a little bit more sense than having like a specific account for it, in my opinion. So that's been cool to see, and yeah, excited to kind of grow that out and build the presence out amongst like the crypto native folks, which obviously dominate the app today. Ton of jank, right? So even with that, the channel creation yesterday, it is super specific in the weeds. But like when you have to pay warps to create it, which is cool. You don't want like channel spam or whatever. So you pay the equivalent of like $25 to create a channel now in warps,
Okay.
like 2,500 warps. You can use crypto or credit card to buy these warps, or you can earn them by getting like tipped by other folks doing stuff on Farcaster, I guess. But once you get in there, if you have no followers, you can't edit a channel until you have like a couple people following it, apparently. But there's no like indication of that. There's just a lot of like things you find out in the app and notice notifications. Like if you're following channels, you have to manually set the alarm so that you're not missing stuff. And yeah, typical new app things. And then just like my biggest critique is like, damn, another hamster wheel to spin on to try to spin up followers, which it's more frustrating in a crypto app, especially when you're linking like ETH addresses, on-chain addresses that have collected from like, just giving artist example, so many artists that are now on Farcaster and hold the art from those artists on Farcaster, and everyone has their ETH addresses linked. So like this on-chain social graph is there, but like we're building a whole nother social graph. That's really annoying. But other than that, I love seeing the energy. Yeah, everything that has a viral moment will have a crash at some point, but with Farcaster, they've been building for years. So dip, pump, bull, bear in the context of Farcaster, I'm sort of confident that it will continue to expand, and the fact that it is very, and started out being very dev focused. They're going to keep building cool shit on here. So I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons. And then optimistic on where they're kind of going from here, and love seeing just like the founder and the team so effing active. It's very similar to like Nifty Island and Charles and the team over there being super responsive, pushing out fixes, dealing with load, in real time for everyone to see. I love that.
Yeah. So I feel like, we need, I'm just sort of thinking off the top of my head, man, of like, some of the barriers to entry that I'm talking about. And like, thank you for clarifying, some of the things you can do with the warps, which like really isn't like readily apparent when you hop in and everything, and how all these things fit together and everything. But I don't think that's bad. And I feel like we've had stuff like that before. And I feel like we've been missing like, sort of the rub, I think, of like these niche, like, Web3 social media apps, and a bunch of them have come out, starting with like Friend Tech, but then there's like a billion spin-offs with like different nuances. And this is, there's some like, this and Lens that have been around like a lot longer, tinkering with these concepts and everything. But I feel like even, you get a good following on, these places or whatever, but I feel like you're still sort of like preaching to the choir, which is good in a sense, like, you're trying to get your message out to the most important people. But, I feel like the rub is that you're really not expanding the bubble too much. You're just sort of, got a bigger microphone within the bubble. And, my rub in terms of devoting too much energy to some of these things is, I got in there and I see like, a lot of familiar faces, like, people who I follow on Twitter, people who follow me on Twitter, people who I just see, in the community and everything. And I'm like, at this point, I feel like a lot of this crowd pretty much knows my shtick and like knows my deal and everything. And like, is the time better spent like, sort of beating the same drum in front of like the same people, or trying to like widen it through like a jankier, shittier, but like more public and easily accessible network like Twitter or X, or like whatever that we want to call like, and there's a lot of other ones too. And the answer is probably like a little bit of both, but I don't know, man, we haven't had like a place that the community has really gravitated to since like Scent, to my recollection. I mean, there's been flashes of that that had like lasted, and people have really like stuck around, and that has like sort of maintained the integrity of like, this is a place for us. So I don't know what their like long-term ambitions are, or what direction they're trying to take it, but I like the idea of like, even if it's janky and a little bit cumbersome, a place for us to communicate with people who understand what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah. And like before this, like going back to Cent days, there were a few attempts at like a Twitter clone, basically, just with crypto characteristics. Peepeth was the first one that popped up, like tweeting on Ethereum L1 and paying all the associated gas costs. That got unfun very quickly. But then, like recently, last year, I think like Blue Sky had popped up. There's Big Cloud, rebranded DSO. Friend Tech was hot for a second, and then very not now. But now, like, dude, we have a bigger bubble, right? And the fact that like NFTs and like crypto have fully kind of merged, I think that Farcaster embodies that merging. Like everyone sort of sees eye to eye now. We like the clans and like the multiple clans across all the chains sort of like understand we're all in this together. And I think Farcaster is the recognition of that. And we have a critical mass, right? There's 150,000 like uniques on Farcaster. Like that's like a small city, like a very big small city, right? You can do a lot of shit there. And the fact that everyone has wallets hooked up there, like that is very powerful. And a lot can happen within that sort of network state, right? To be honest. And the fact that that's not all of crypto either. Like there's still a lot of folks who haven't jumped over to Warpcast. Now it's free, so it's a little bit easier to jump and download, but you still need to download it. And like the jank we're just talking about, getting over those hurdles. But once you're in, it's like, oh man, you have that sort of feeling that I hadn't felt for a long time since Cent days. But now it's a huge city that you're able to interact with. You have these interactive billboards, aka frames, which are sort of basic now, and people are making a big deal out of them. But the fact that no one had really made ads interactive like this is exciting because I think people's imaginations are running wild. And having people with crypto in their wallet, interacting with one another, having their imaginations run wild is a recipe for like cool shit to come. So it makes sense to hang out if for nothing else. And that's another aspect that I dig about this. It's not like, all right, there's a whole bunch of crypto people here. It's all scam city. Like people are just having fun and like thinking about the future and thinking about implications and sharing art and stuff like that. And yeah, there's money being transacted and sent in between users and on offer. There's bounties and stuff thanks to Bountycaster and other people doing cool shit. But all the money stuff is secondary or just like easy to access because of crypto. The primary focus of folks is sort of having fun with the new network right now and building new cool shit. And you love to see it because as long as a project has something other than financial gain as the primary motive to use it, it's not going to fail right away, at least. So I'm excited for that.
So I'm genuinely interested in your take on this, man, because I don't know enough about it to know. But you know, is this? And I feel like I was just talking about this with like Trizlet the other day about how like, you know, we're sort of in one of these cycles right now, or the parts of the cycle where there's just so much airdrop farming going on, right? Like just projects popping up and is sort of leaning on knowing that people, if they put out, you know, say that there's going to be an airdrop coming, people will show up to jump through the hoops and do their thing and everything. And because I have seen people post about making money on Farcaster and everything, I sort of, and then I hopped in there and there's like, maybe, you know, a bunch of like innocent, you know, microtransactions and experiments and like whatever going on with like, you know, meme coins and whatnot. But I'm like, you know, are the bulk of the people in there like you who are, you know, genuinely in there because they're interested in it? And I'm sure there are a significant amount of them, but I'm like, you know, because of like the sort of part of the cycle where we're in, where I feel like people are just signing up for things, clicking on things, jumping through hoops for the sake of getting that airdrop at some point. Like, do you feel like a lot of, or potentially like a decent chunk of the audience is there with the hopes of something like that? Or do you think like this is sort of like a different animal?
I know there are channels that are more like airdrop focused. So I know there's definitely a contingent of airdrop farmers that are hopping on here in the hopes of getting a big payday if they're doing something like that. But there's more other things to do here, or folks to follow, or thoughts to kind of share that offset that. And it's not I don't get the vibe that the majority of users are coming here for those things specifically. Maybe secondarily, right? Which is sort of what I was talking about before. But that also makes it feel better. People aren't just chasing those yields or those tokens to farm, blah blah blah. Which is cool. So it's that, right, for the true crypto degens, but it's also not that if you want to make it an app that's not truly focused on that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my sort of pulse test on a lot of things around here are like, are enough of the fam like expressing interest or already tinkering around with XYZ, and once there's been like a few sacrificial lambs that have gone forth before me, I'm like, all right, I'll take a stab at it and see what the deal is. And I'm pretty like surprised / impressed at the amount of the OG community that has been around here for a long time that has made its way over there. And I don't know, seems to also be like at least tinkering with it or giving it a shot and everything. So I don't know, man. It's a cool experiment. The last few weeks we've been talking about like how nice it is to see just interesting players come to the table with different spins on things and everything. So I don't know, man. I feel like jury's still out for like me personally how much I end up using it, but I trust your judgment and a lot of the people's judgment who have spoken highly about it. So I'm down to keep tinkering for sure.
Yeah. And like I like it just because I can talk more crypto shit more often. I feel like Twitter's become it's a different beast. I'm seeing a lot of people like cross post and like experiment on that side, but I like treating new apps like as new things and leaning back into like the crypto focused chatter that we may have had more of way back on Scent without having to have like full articles and shit like that. Like it's really refreshing in that regard. So I'm leaning into that, and yeah, excited to see how it develops and evolves over time. And anyone has any cool ideas, or especially on the frame side of things, like I think everyone now, especially that has like or is part of a community or has any other associated projects in crypto, are like, how the F do we incorporate frames in a way that makes sense with the project? So yeah, any of those ideas, share them, tag us. And again, like if you're on Firecaster, follow Rizzle at Rizzle, follow me at Nifty Time, and then make sure you follow the Whip Meetup. Go to the channels, type in / the Whip Meetup. So yeah, I'm stoked for that.
Help me out and tell me what to do on this goddamn app.
Hold Rizzle's grandpa hand as we navigate this confounded app. Anyway.
It's cool though, man. I mean, I tinkered around with Friend Tech for a little bit and Stars Arena, which I think is like slightly defunct, or like, I don't know, maybe they're still building it or whatever. I haven't opened it up in a while, but I like, have been, and partially was absolutely due to like, airdrop farming and, knowing that some of these things like have essentially like publicly stated that, will equal those things. However, man, I've always been like, hopeful that, we do have like sort of a place to gather where we can have like more nuanced conversations. And I, in my, brief stabs at trying to see what those platforms were like, my approach was similar, man, in what you're saying, that I feel like, you got different angles on things depending on the platform that you're on. And, I miss those days of being able to like say some shit that, is going to fall on deaf ears in the Twitter sphere, but that, with the right people paying attention, you can actually like get some opinions or get some help, or at least like people know what the hell you're talking about. So, I don't know, man. Hopefully somebody gets it right. I mean, maybe it's Farcaster or Warpcast. Why is there two names, man? Can you clarify that?
Farcaster's the protocol, right? So on top of the protocol, there's like other front ends. Yeah, there's Warpcast, there's Supercast, which is sort of like that's more akin to the paid equivalent of Twitter plus other like the secondary apps that people use on Twitter, like TweetDecks and shit like that. Like you can schedule tweets and stuff like that on top of making threads. You have to pay for that. It's like $10 a month or $100 a year now. They made it paid. So if you got in early, like shout out, like getting in before they put that paid window on top. But yeah, the developers can spin up any kind of front end they want on top of that base Farcaster protocol that logs like accounts that sign up using ETH wallets that either Farcaster creates for you or you use yourself. Like if you sign up with an ENS with your regular ETH handle, and then like all the interactions in there, like they're all, as far as I know, on chain. I'm not sure what blockchain they use to store all this stuff, but yeah, it's pretty cool in that regard. And we really haven't scratched the surface of what developers really, really want to build out on top of the protocol, since we're so focused on like Warpcast for the most part, with a bunch of other folks on Supercast.
That was a good explanation that I appreciate, man. And like part of this is a branding problem on their end too, because you got people saying they signed up for Farcaster, you got to download Warpcast and like all this stuff, and barriers to entry and getting people into some of these places. But I don't know, man. Going back to Cent, I never. That community was small, but it was solid and it was like vibrant, and there was a lot of like interaction with one another, and I never really felt like something was missing. Like I really wish there was like a whole bunch of other people who only sort of like loosely understood what I was talking about. I like that it was a place for like enthusiasts and people who really wanted to dig a few layers deeper and everything. So I don't know, man. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but I've been hopeful for something like that for a long time.
Yeah, same, man. Yeah. So Farcaster, y'all.
Yeah.
And then Nifty Island. I've been jumping back in there and actually playing games. I'm not a person to play games. But
I'm sort of surprised to hear you saying that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm really not a game player. But I never play games. I only played Battlefield before, which is like elite. But outside of that, it's never something I've had time for. But Metageists kind of hit me up last week after the whip and was just like, hey, you want to jump in World and like do something in Nifty Island? I'm like, sure. And then we go in and he was like, oh, I know this deathmatch place. And we hit up some deathmatch island, and it was fun, dude. Like the physics are great. The small little micro responses are really, really funny. We found also a track where you could like, if you were wearing, for example, like a Code Trip car as an avatar, you would be able to get on this track and feel like you're playing Mario Kart with like the guns and like the obstacles that you can create to foil folks that you're racing against. It's really fun. It's just the only limit I've come up against is that, all right, outside of Metageist hitting me up, I haven't found like a reliable way to have other internet friends come in game or in world with me to play games in a way that makes the games really, really fun. Sort of hit or miss if you go to an island with folks on there that are good at playing the game. So that's the only thing I've run up against. But with the Discord integration that they just announced, communities like Meme that have their own Discord servers, like we can set it up so I'm thinking of it like a portal to jump in with folks that you're already in Discord servers with to go play games there. So I don't know. I've been super impressed. It's really fun. And as long as there's a reliable way to have folks to play these games with on some of these islands, whose owners have really just, they're doing the Lord's work in terms of designing like really fun games to play. It's, yeah, again, like another bright spot in this space. Totally different from Farcaster, but very, very much in the same vein.
I mean, I think I'm still on what I was last week. I think they offer like something different and in a good way that other platforms don't offer, and other platforms are different in good ways as well. And there's room for everybody out there and everything. Dude, I feel So that's cool, man. I haven't played the Mario Kart thing, but I have seen people posting about it and everything. And as a huge Mario Kart player myself, I love that kind of stuff. And the games as well, man. It's I was in Rostan's place the other day and like ran into Ballistic Banana and everything. And I it would be cool if they had some sort of like on your profile, like, you know, a calendar you could follow, you know, when you knew people would going to be in there, or could like coordinate somehow like within their interface, or even just like message people or something when you see that someone's online. And I don't know, they're taking on a lot and have introduced a lot of things, and nobody can do everything at once. But yes, I agree. If there was like some more ways to communicate or coordinate with the people who are in there. I don't know, man. I feel like it's still going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Like now we're, I don't know what, a month after release, and the dust is starting to settle. And I see a lot of us in there, you know, whether there's a whole lot of outside traffic coming in, or, you know, that I'm overlooking or going into spots that, you know, are off my radar and everything. And maybe I'm just in my own corner of Nifty Island, in my own like Rizzle bubble that I've, you know, created with friends of mine and everything. But I feel like when I run into someone in there, generally I know them or know of them or have seen them around, or, you know, someone we know knows them. And, you know, which is cool, man. It's like a lot of fam in there right now, which is sort of what I expected if their platform was like good enough for, you know, the Web3 crowd who actually like understands. But I don't know, on a long enough continuum, like, are they able to pull in the type of audience that they're hoping for? You know, I feel like the pieces are there in theory, but like, I don't know, that's always a tough thing to do.
Yeah, no, I think that really is the big open question. Like, how quickly can they onboard new folks that aren't part of our crew, or like, again, the bubble, which there's a sizable number of folks, but the number of people who will download this sort of client, or can, even if they can download it, have a rig or like a computer to support it, I would imagine would be far fewer than the folks that can jump onto like a web app like Warpcast, right? There's significant limitations there. So hopefully they can scale up quicker and really just make it easier for folks to find like the bumping islands, and make it easy for folks to join. Because if people are going in like with their own crew and playing games, like it's hard to join a game that's playing. So like at least the death matches that I've experienced. So it's like, you got to wait for it to end. And some of those go for a little bit longer. And there's definitely a number of folks that are just farming blooms, and they're participating in games. They're not doing anything. They're just joining it and then collecting blooms, because you get participatory blooms as a result. So I was in a couple games like that. I'm like, that kind of sucks. Like I'm murdering this guy. I'm on a crazy murder streak. But they're just standing there because they're not playing. They just want to collect the blooms. So yeah, definitely some issues to solve. But if you do have like internet friends, it is an awesome place to go regularly. So I can't shout that point out enough. But yeah, some issues to address.
Yeah, man. I think honestly, like a lot of it hinges on them delivering this airdrop to the target audience that will not do that. Essentially, you know what I mean? To the people who will actually come back to continue to engage with their platform and everything. Because I think if you know, they push out this airdrop that everybody's been talking about, and it gets in the hands of a lot of people who have essentially just been like, you know, doing what you're saying, just, you know, gaming the system the entire time, and, you know, won't be back when, you know, the big airdrop is finished, you know, sort of a cut and run like a lot of these people are doing, and not even hating on that. There's like a lot of opportunities to like farm airdrops, and, you know, where there are opportunities to farm, people are going to farm. But yeah, man, I feel like, you know, a show was going on about OpenSea during the afties of the whip last week, and you know, the lack of OpenSea token which I feel like, would have done a lot for their reputation and longevity in the space had, they taken the big opportunity when they were like, the biggest, thing in the race or whatever, to, incentivize and reward the people who built that platform to come back. And I feel like not a lot of people get that right. And the ones that do, it's generally like received pretty well. Like, hey, they're listening to us. Hey, they're, taking the community into consideration. Or is it just, a dump and, see what happens? I don't know, man. It's interesting, dude. It's hard to decipher, like, what's that and what's not. But there are definitely some glimmers of hope that, we've been talking about here.
Yeah, a lot of glimmers of hope of good things to come, and honestly, like fun things to do right now today as well. So not so much just thinking about the future, but again, you need both parts. You need folks that continue to build and update and respond to what's happening today, as well as something fun to do. So I think we have two awesome examples. Three, take it back. The Whip every Thursday, of course, but then Farcaster and Nifty Island. Just fucking awesome. I'll link to, and quick shout out to Port Tango on Nifty Island. They had the Ultra Palm Grand Prix course that I was talking about. Shout them out. We'll link them in the show notes so you can jump in there and race around and test all that. But yeah, excited for the future. Like we were talking about last week, man. There's more good shit popping up, and the vibes are good and real. I'm really feeling strong parallels with 2020. To be honest, I think I casted, to use the right nomenclature, about this the other day on Farcast. But like back in 2020, there were like increasing all-time high crypto art sales. Yeah, DeFi Summer, NBA Top Shot came out, also interviewed them. And then like Nifty Gateway at the end of the year had their big boom. And then now already in 2024, it's like, yeah, we've had actually some pretty big digital art sales. It's airdrop season across all the different chains. It feels like the equivalent of DeFi Summer. We got Nifty Island, we got Farcaster, and then one thing we didn't talk about, ENS and the GoDaddy announcement seems to be like a pretty big deal, maybe akin to like NBA coming in here or something like that. And it's only February, so things are building well for how this year will unfold and what potentially is next too.
Yeah, dude, I hope we see some stuff last this time around. I feel like, at this point, there's, the unicorns who are able to withstand the test of time are the only ones here from the early days. And that's my frustration with a lot of this, with a lot of the new stuff that comes out is, 95% of it does not last. And it is fun tinkering around with them, man. And I'm having fun, playing with the things that we've talked about here today as well. But also, man, it's just always like a rub. I feel like you've been around long enough, that like how much, it's like a math equation. You're like, am I going to sink X amount of time into messing around with this? Is it that fun, knowing that no matter what the landscape is, most likely most of this isn't going to survive. So I don't know, man. There's never a dull moment, and I'm also never like not really having fun. But the longer the space goes on, and we sort of learn, and from the landscape that we have in terms of like the history of all of this and everything. It's I don't know. I feel like my approach is starting to change like a little bit in terms of just leaning more towards like the tried and true people and projects and everything that I know are going to stick around until like, pretty much proven otherwise. LOL Solana.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about Solana going down.
It's all right, man. I had my victory lap. We can.
Yeah, no, we gave you your flowers, dude. Like myself, I woke up yesterday and I saw it. I saw the tweet from someone else saying it was down. I'm like, fucking Rizzle. He's doing his Rizzle victory laps. Yeah, wild. And then seeing it's cool. It's kind of humbled a lot of folks that have been getting super loud from the Solana side and just like obnoxiously so, kind of just kind of bow down and be like, oh shit, yeah, we still have issues on our end. Again, like there's a lot of pros. I've tried to highlight just like just buttery smooth, quick, blah blah blah. There's a lot of pros, but it's a blockchain. It's not supposed to go down like this. Come on, guys.
Yeah. Song Day Man put out a banger about it. Yeah, dude, I don't wish anyone to get wrecked, and a lot of people who I know and respect have been messing around over at Solana and everything, and I don't have any problem with any of that or whatever. But yeah, man, I feel like the silver lining to it is I think it reinforces how important decentralization and decentralized technology is within the context of this space, because that was sort of like the whole point of the whole thing, and you can do a lot of different things with the tech, and you could probably do a lot of cool centralized things with the tech, but I feel like Solana had sort of managed to brand itself as like the same thing but better as everything else, and it's just not. It's centralized.
Anyway,
blammo.
Awesome episode, dude. Glass half full as always. So much good shit going on. Excited for the whip tomorrow. We'll have all those links to download the clients for the Aavegotchi whip tomorrow for folks. So pay attention to that. Shout out to Dragonate's mom. Who else is listening to us right now? Oh yeah, that's it. Love y'all.
Shout out to them always.
Awesome.
Good stuff, dude. See you at the whip.
Peace. Cool. There you go. Thanks, y'all.